Great. It'll take a few minutes for people to jump in the chat, so I'll just be welcoming everybody as they come in, and
Yeah, sure.
we'll be going from there. How's
Sounds
your day
good.
been anyway?
Yeah, good. It's been like relatively quiet, I guess.
Yep.
I've just been. Oh, hang on, I need to mute you.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Um, yeah, it's been the same as kind of every day over the last few months, but yeah,
Yeah, Groundhog Day for us in
it's a
Melbourne.
yeah, yeah. That's the whole thing. Like I'm just a little bit all over the shop every single day, just trying to kind of figure out things to do creatively and like how to keep my mind kind of going every day. But
Yeah.
today was a good day. Yeah, it was definitely.
Oh, that's great. We'll talk a little bit about that later on as well. Hey Ash, thanks for joining the chat so quickly. You are always here. Um, Also, I forgot to remind everybody, Ash, to put a stream selfie, which I'm sure you've already done, but I will show those later after we chat to Neal later on. So we do stream selfies, Neal, and I usually show them at some point, which is very cute. So how are we both? I'm okay. I've had a weird day. You were just saying it's just so weird being in Melbourne. You would know as well, Ash. It's just like, it's a bit up and down. A bit just like whatever. A bit Groundhog Day.
Yeah, there's only so much positivity I think you can kind of get out of days at the moment. Like if you were to have an amazing day, that it's kind of weird. You're like, well,
Yes.
what are you doing? But
Yeah.
yeah, you just kind of you make the best of it, I guess.
Yes. Sub Impoverished, good to see you, Scarlett. Amber Lee, how are you? Ash just said it's such a roller coaster. I definitely, yeah, I completely agree. And I'm a very positive person as well. So it's like, it's actually been quite weird for me to go through, moments of lower points and struggling with, where is my mental health today? That's actually quite unusual for me. So that's like, trying to, hang on a sec. Aaron's telling me something about stream. Oh, that's all right. Yeah, so it's been really weird for me to actually kind of come to terms with some of that stuff that I haven't really had to deal with before. So that's like been a whole thing, which has been interesting. But thankfully,
Yeah, right.
the stream has kept me very connected, and yeah, I feel very loved here, which is good. What up, Matt Hickey? What up, Kenzie? Nice to see you guys here. I'm just turning off my notifications because I'm beeping in my ear, so sorry about that, guys. You would have been able to hear that. Oh, I forgot to change my guest as well. Let me do that right now. My Nightbot. There's all these things I need to do before I stream, Neal, and I usually get 9 out of 10, and there's always one that I forget, and tonight it's the Nightbot, but I'll do it so we've got your website up as well.
It sounds like every time I go on a set, I'm like, yep, cool. I've done all of the important things, and then the 4 things that I am meant to do, like, really matter. I haven't done any of them.
Right?
Mm.
Yeah, I hate when you forget something really obvious as well on set. Like, you're just like, oh. That's not a vibe.
Every single festival season, it's exactly the same thing. We just get there and we're like, oh, we've got all the things we need, but this vital thing we don't have.
What's
like,
the most,
cool.
important thing that you've forgotten, do you think?
Memory cards. It's always memory cards. Memory cards or batteries.
Or batteries. Not enough batteries. Yeah. Hey, Nate and Aisha too. Yeah, go on, sorry.
The worst one was I flew to America for the Thigh Art Tour earlier this year. Got there, got my camera out, had just bought this brand new camera and didned bring a battery. And it's like a new Sony battery and didn't bring a charger. So had to go and spend $260 on a new battery and charger.
The anxiety. The anxiety I'm feeling already. Oh my God. Amber Lee's saying she's feeling a bit stressed today. I won't lie, but I'm doing okay. Well, you're here with us, so that's good. We'll try and de-stress you for a little while. We'll have a bit of a chat about all things music photography. So hopefully we will, have a good time. She said Amber Lee said uni's kicking my ass. Have to find someone to do a documentary photography project in the 4 weeks left. So that's a stress. That sounds like a big stress. Yeah, for sure. Hey Shelley, good to see you here. Photo documentaries. Yeah, well, you probably know about those as well. big projects that take many years. And how
Documentaries are the bane of my existence, really. The Northland documentary we did, that was, on paper it looked great. I was like,
yes,
perfect. And then it's, any kind of documentary, it's just the most finicky thing. Because when you do anything to do with music, it's kind of whatever's there is there. Like, the information that you have, but documentaries are always so kind of all over the shop. You're like, well, here's what I have, but then like you've also got these 17 or 18 other pieces which could go in different spots to make up the whole documentary. So I feel your pain there, trust me.
Same. Nearly died making our documentary, her sound. Shelley said that Northland one was fire though, so there you go. Shelley's seen the
thank you very much.
That's cool.
Surprise! I'm like, this is the weirdest part when you asked me to do this. I was like, the rural audience and then the Northland audience, 2 completely different things.
We have all sorts. We have there's a Twitch photography audience as well, which is a small but yet vibrant community of people that are interested in photography that will pop in, which is really cool. So it's like all sorts, which is really great. I love it here.
That's right.
I feel like I found a little home.
Audience. I'm not surprised.
I feel like I found like a new little home, if that makes sense. I love it here a lot. It's really cool.
You've managed to do something which a lot of other photographers and people haven't been able to do, is like actively make something more of themselves throughout this, rather than just go into hibernation and reshare old photos and everything. Like, I think, that's great.
It comes out of necessity, Neal. I think when I was talking before about like struggling with, mental health stuff that I've never had to struggle with, like my anxiety presents in like having to do stuff. So that's just, I guess it's a blessing and a curse, but like it's good for activity, because it means I'll focus very heavily on stuff to keep me distracted from the thing that is probably, depressing most people. So, but it's been really positive. Shelley just said, I followed Neal's work for ages as well. Always love to see him working at Unify. I've seen Shelley at Unify a couple of times. She always comes over from New Zealand. She shoots for a publication. So, she's very, very familiar with your work, which is cool.
That's very
I'm going to pull up some of your work. We'll start having a chat now that we've got some people here, which is cool.
Sure.
Just going to pull up your website at the moment. So, but I'd love to get, because I haven't heard your story. Like, I don't know how you got into music photography, or, when I kind of met you, you were obviously super well established. Everyone knew who you were. Like, you were one of the people that everybody really looked up to. So I don't know like the come up story. So I'd love to hear a bit of background.
Look, my story is it's different to a lot of other photographers, because I basically started the opposite. Is I started relatively late, like I was like 23, I think, when I first kind of picked up a camera, and I only picked up a camera because I got introduced to this guy who was running a wedding photography business, and then he said that he needed an assistant to help him get bookings for his business. And I was like, well, I'm not really working it at the moment, so I'd love to be able to help you out. And then it got like a year into working with this guy, and he's like, hey, I need a second photographer. And then I said, well, I've never picked up a camera before, but let's have a go at this and see what happens. And I just took on this second photographer at a wedding business for like 3 or 4 months. And then all of my friends were in the music industry, obviously. So I would go to shows and take my camera and then just take a couple of photos here and there. And they all just was like, oh, this is sick. And then a couple of my close friends were like, oh, well, we need a photographer for a tour and everything. And I was lucky enough to, like, the first tours that I did were with a band, with my friend Luke Steele, who played in this band called Built on Secrets. And then we got tours with like international supports, and then like the international guy, he didn't bring out anyone. And then that led to my photos being shared with kind of like an international audience straight away. And I got a bit of a following immediately off that, which is really nice. And so, yeah, I just started because of like a weird spot going weddings first, but then all of my friends kind of just needed someone. Like I just fell in, I was relatively lucky because I just fell into a good spot with who I was working with at the time, really.
Yep. I had the exact same entry. I went from weddings into music as well. And I was a bit later than you. I was in my 30s, but yeah, still late. And I think weddings, I've spoken about this before on the stream, but I actually think weddings are actually pretty good practice for music photography. Like there are similarities in the documentation, and, you know, just you're not really in control of much. Other than, I guess, the portrait shooting, obviously you are, but it's, you know, it's straight out documentation of what's happening, and it can have all kinds of light happen in a day or a venue, or I don't know. I just feel like people think that they don't marry up that well, but I actually think the skills are similar in ways.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's like when I did all my teachings and everything with Canon, it was always. That was one of the things I'd marry up to. Is people ask me where I came from, it was like music photography, but it's photography kind of, it's the beauty about it. No matter what part of photography that you kind of take on, whether it's like landscape photography, or like wildlife, it's the same as music photography, really. Like you've got to just adapt. Photography is always about adapting and just making sure that you can just change incredibly quickly and get into a new style, and it's like you need to know how to change your shutter quickly. You need to know how to change what your focus point is. It doesn't matter if it's music or if it's taking photos of, you know, a shark under the water. It's all the same thing, really. And I think that's why I love it so much.
Totally. This big thank you to Soy. Thank you so much. I just saw the 2-month subscription. Really appreciate that. That just popped up on screen. And hello, Paige. Nice to see you here as well. We're just speaking to Neal today. We're checking out some of his work at the moment, which is really cool. I love, there's a shot on screen at the moment, which I'm not sure. I think it's Architects, actually.
The upside down one?
Yeah, the upside down one, which is super sick.
Every time I die.
Every time I die. Very cool. Very cool. I love that. And you just touched on something that I wanted to speak to you about, because I'm not sure if you're still working at Canon, but you were working at Canon for quite some time. How did that come about?
Yeah, I'm not anymore, because I left last year to just pursue touring again, because I just kind of decided that touring was where I wanted to be at before the world shut down, and that turned out to be a really good decision to do that. But yeah, good call by me.
Yeah, good call. It's funny.
I was like, yeah, I want to tour the world. I'll quit the what people perceive as the dream job, and then the whole world shuts down. No, it kind of came about as my best friend Pease. His mum worked at Canon, and I met his mum a few years ago, and I started working like the servicing department there, so fixing cameras and such. And the job just came up with Canon Collective that the girl that I ended up replacing, she left to pursue something else, and I made it known when I got there. I found out about the position. I went, that's my job. I didn't realize how much I wanted to teach photography until I found out about the job, and I just fell into it, and it was great.
Yeah, cool. Pease is someone that I've been trying to get on here for a little while, but so far no success. I will hopefully
Good luck.
convince. I know.
We went, because Pease lives. I could throw a rock at his house from where I live, and
so
we
cool.
went for a walk yesterday, and I said that I was coming on, and he goes, "Yeah, she's asked me about 50 times. How you doing?" His excuse is always the same. He goes, "I got nothing to say."
It drives me mental. I'm like, yeah. I mean, you know how talented he is, and you know, all of the stories he would have, and it's just it blows my mind that he thinks that he wouldn't have anything to say. Hello, Daniel. Nice to see you here. And Shelley's just said, Peas, also awesome work. So, like, there's definitely people that know and appreciate his work here as well. So,
he quite legitimately, if everybody on here right now, if you don't follow Peas, his Instagram is xpeasx. And
yeah, I'll actually pull it up on screen.
Yeah, he is what I think is probably my favorite music photographer, like in Australia by an absolute mile. He is the most underrated photographer, overlooked, but it's partially his own fault because he doesn't put himself out there that much. But yeah, I tell you what, if you need to follow anyone tonight, disregard me and go follow this guy because his work is just so clean and so good. And yeah, he talks himself down more than anyone, but yeah, it's definitely.
I know, it's so wild. Oh my god. Thank you so much for the host, TLD. Really appreciate it. Thanks for popping into the stream. And Mika, so good to see you. Thank you. I've just popped up Pease's Instagram. Definitely check out his work. I do really want to get him on here. He's just, yeah, I completely agree with you. I absolutely adore his work, and I absolutely adore him as a human. So yeah, but hopefully one day, fingers crossed, we'll get him. Shelley, thank you so much for popping that in the chat, but we'll see. I'll just chip away at him. You never know. We might get there.
That's all you've got to do.
Chip away. You've done heaps of work with a lot of different bands, but I guess, I mean, from my perspective, the one that's been most visible has been your work with North Lane. How did that relationship kind of start? Because you've been working with them for a long time.
Yeah, well, I've been working for them for basically just before Marcus started in the band. So, you know, what, 4 or 5 years, at least 5 years, I guess. I was obviously doing a bunch of stuff with Unified, that's how I've got everything basically with music. And then, yeah, one day Luke, who's the head of Unified, just asked me to come down and shoot North Lane, and I hadn't even really heard of them, and I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago, and it was the last show with Adrian before he left the band, and I went and shot him at like I think it was a Chelsea Heights hotel.
Oh yeah.
It was one of his last shows, and went down there and met up with him. And then it turns out that I actually knew Milo, who used to play bass, and yeah, struck up an old kind of friendship with him because we'd met each other years before, but I didn't even know he was in the band. I just met him through someone else, and yeah, just started that, which is funny because the two guys that I initially hung out with in North Lane aren't actually in the band anymore. It's everyone else that's kind of taken on from there. But yeah, we kind of got along really well at the start, and then they didn't really have a photographer. They'd never taken someone on, which was kind of weird for a band of that scale. To when I started with them to not have a permanent kind of guy. And then my first ever tour with them was in Europe, and I'd only met 2 of them before. The label set it up. Most of the guys didn't even know I was going over there. The label just said, we're sending someone. And I got to Europe and got on the tour bus, and they were like, hey man, who are you? And Josh and John were like, yeah, this is Neal, everyone. And everyone's like, who's he? Because he's not on the list or anything. He's like, yeah, well, he's a photographer. And I was lucky that it was a pretty relaxed kind of tour because it was us and Hellions, Volumes, and the Acacia Strain, and everyone just gelled really well. It was one of the best tours I've ever done, and I was lucky that it was in a really chill kind of setting that everyone got along really well, and I was able to just kind of fit in, and since then it's been a brotherhood. We all work really well together. No one really fights with each other. It's like, except for Josh and John, everyone else doesn't really fight. But yeah, everyone gels and it works. So I've just been really happy to work with them ever since then.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for the host, Cornish Gamer. Really appreciate that as well. And Nate Hill was saying, I love photographers hyping up other photographers. I actually think that's quite common now. Like where there's,
Yeah.
I find the community really, really supportive, and I don't know. I've had really lovely experiences with the majority of people, you know, that are shooting and contributing, I guess, which has been really cool. But I'd love to
One of
touch
the
on.
I've done that like a couple of times since, especially since lockdowns kind of happened. Is
Mm,
like I just go on these Instagram kind of posts, like story posts, where I just go, these are the people you need to follow. Like it's nice and everything when people follow me, but I'm like I especially like Melbourne photographers, like Ian Laidlaw is one of the ones that I hype up the most. Like whenever anyone asks me, it's like, okay, who are the photographers that you follow? I'm like, well, it's Michelle, it's Ian, it's Pete. That's it. They're the ones that everyone should follow as like a staple with music photography in Australia, because there's no point just hyping up yourself if people already know who you are, because they know who you are, so they just
yes.
get on with it. But everyone
Yeah.
else, they're the ones, they're the important ones to kind of get around. And it's something that I didn't even realize I needed to do more until recently, because like most people in the industry who would come to gigs and everything would know, if they know who I was, they'd kind of describe me as a bit of a like a locked off, like unapproachable kind of guy. And
Mm.
that just simply comes down to the fact that I'm a tall guy that wears black, and uh, at a gig, I'm very, very focused on what I do. So,
Yeah.
and you've seen this before, and you and I have had discussions about this, that
Totally.
people's perception of me and who I actually am is two completely different things,
Yeah.
because they think that I'm
Yeah.
this
Quite
locked
intimidating
off, and
and
they go, Neal's an asshole, and he doesn't really talk to anyone. I'm like, yeah, but I'm working when these people see me. Like,
yeah.
I wish more people got to see me away from a working kind of thing, because I'm more than happy to have a chat with anyone. And it's just that's the problem that I kind of faced early on, is people thought that I was a negative kind of guy, and I'm like, I'm not. I'm just so focused on work that, and I've got, most of the time I've got in-ears in too, and
Yeah.
anyone that's like, basically in-ears is like when you see a photo of a musician and when they've got that big thing in their ear, if you don't know, that's in-ears, and all you can hear when you've got that in is like a very low volume track of what's going on the stage and nothing else. So there's
Totally.
people that have gone, oh, I said hi to you at a gig, but you blew me off. And it's like, if you weren't standing straight in front of me, I
You
had no
probably didn't
idea you were there.
see you. Yeah, yeah. I
No
just
idea,
gotta
because I couldn't hear you.
give me 2 secs. My camera has just done something super weird and died, so I just got to quickly fix
Nice.
that, because love that when that happens. We're just talking about
This is live, so why
tech
not?
tech stuff on a stream, and I literally just charged this battery. I don't know what's wrong with it, but I'm gonna give it another go and just see if it'll let me turn it on again. Nah. Okay, I just got to get another battery. Give me 2 secs.
Nice.
I've got one somewhere. Oh yeah, here. That's my good battery as well, by the way.
Oh, fantastic. It's doing
that-
very well.
That's the fail-safe one, so I'm stoked about that. Let's just see if this one works. Okay. Okay, that one's working. I'll just chuck it back in. Give me 2 secs to see if this is... There we go, we're back. It's so funny that you say that, because we have had this conversation about, because it's interesting, like people have said that about me as well, and I feel like I'm one of the most approachable people, but I think if you are in work mode, people can definitely get the wrong idea, or just how you present. I guess people can be intimidated for different reasons, but I remember hearing that about you. I think even before I met you, and then when I met you, I was just like, he's pretty chill. Like, I mean, you definitely are in work mode, and like the first time I worked with you was at Unify, and you were definitely in that zone. But you've always been really great and supportive to me. So that's what I've always told people as well. which is cool.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Is unfortunately where a lot of people know me from is Unify, and that's like the worst possible space to kind of judge me as a human being, because I've got like 10 other people working for me. It's like the stress levels are just completely through the roof. I'm just like running between like this last year was probably the best kind of year, because we had a spot that was our media spot is generally like 500
miles
meters
away
from the actual stage.
yeah,
But this
exactly.
year, the best one, because we had it right behind the stage, but then we didn't have to do anything for the whole first day. So it was like,
because it was
yep,
like rained
cool.
out or whatever.
the,
Was it rained out
the
or the
yeah,
weather?
rained out. There
Yeah,
was only
rained
like
out,
two
right.
bands that played for the whole day. So,
Yeah.
it was just that whole thing of we had the ideal situation, but nothing to do. So I was like incredibly relaxed because we didn't have anything to do. But yeah, every other year it's been like I'd have other photographers saying to me, they're like, "Oh, you seem really stressed and seem like angry." I'm like, "Well, I'm not angry. I'm just trying to take live photos and then like make sure that." And every single year there's like my crew's great and everything, but there's always like clashes between crew, and you just have to make sure that everyone's working together and on the same page. And it ends up being really great in the end, but it's just I kind of wish people could just see me at a gig where I'm not working, have a chat. Yeah.
Just
saying
hello to Chloe, who just joined the chat. Nice to see you here, and also Radical Ace. So good to see you. Shelley said that she didn't think you're intimidating. She's just seen you in the pit, and you're obviously busy. So that's good. There's someone that didn't find that, which is cool.
Thank you, Shelley.
She also said, I did hear about that, Neal, sadly, and then I saw him at Unify, but I very much try to be that person that doesn't judge someone that I haven't met. So there you go. She's
very good idea.
Yeah, I think so as well. Daniel said, Storm from the Sky, Pelly Bar 2013. I assume it was one of the first shows you shot. How would you approach that now in comparison, or what advice would you give your previous self before the first song? Would you do it the same? That's a great question, Dan.
Jesus. Yeah, Storm the Sky. That was not the first band, but I think second band, and I remember that show at the Pelly Bar. Yeah, it's a very long time ago now. I'd probably tell myself before that show just to chill, because it doesn't matter. Like, it's everything where you just get so many photographers and people just going, this is it. If I miss this, I was just I used to always be so stressed before shows and go, oh, what if? It's like, it doesn't actually matter. So
yeah, we're not curing cancer. It's fine.
No, we're not on stage, so no one's going to really know if we don't do a great job, other than the person employing us. That's it. So I think that would be one of the main things, is just to stress less. If anything, that's the main thing that I've learned over the last couple of years, at least, is just don't worry about anything, because it doesn't matter, and just go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
That's it.
Do you get nervous before any shows anymore? Because I find that those really stressful moments are now kind of few and far between, but when they do happen, like, I love it, because it really brings back that adrenaline, and that I obviously this is really important to me. And does that still happen to you occasionally? Yeah,
the very big shows, like I think the last time it happened was we did the London show for North Lane, where it was like a sold out show in London. I knew how important it was to the guys when we were there, and that was the last one I got nervous. But before that, pretty much every single Unify during the headline act, the most nervous I've ever been was Alexis on Fire played Unify, and it was the first year that we'd done like high definition, proper, really good videos for it, that I'd had a big team for. Plus I was doing all the photos, and I sat behind the drummer as they played Young Cardinals, which is like my favorite song by them. And I was sitting there behind the drummer, and I was like, I just stood up and took a photo, and and I don't really ever take it in, but I took it in for a second and I looked at the crowd just out behind this drummer where there's like 7,000 people in front of me. And I was like, geez, I'm shitting myself right now. Because it just hit me of how much pressure there was. And it's like, if all of my team doesn't get this right and everything. And, you know, I think it's good to be nervous every now and then. 'Cause if you're not nervous, you think you've got it in the bag.
Yeah.
So you have to at least be a little bit nervous.
Yeah, you don't want to get complacent. I think complacent is like when people start to get lazy and you start to see a drop in their work. So I like completely appreciate that.
Which happens so much. Like that's one of the things. Like I've only got a couple of photography friends that I hang out with regularly, and it's the main thing that we discuss is for other photographers getting lazy, where they just go, I found it. This is the thing. And everybody's going to enjoy this, so I'm just going to continue doing that and that alone and not adapting. And as I said at the start, it's all about adapting. Is you have to want to improve and not always change your style. Like there's too many people that just go, 360 cameras are the one that I've seen recently, where there's just like there's a lot of people like I have to get one.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you don't have to. That's what that person's doing, and they're doing it well.
They're doing it really well,
You have to find the next thing. So if you get lazy with it and go, well, I'm just going to do what that person's already mastered, they're already like 6 or 7 steps ahead of you. So what's the point of just doing what they do now? So you just have to try and find what is the thing that person who's killing it hasn't done. Get ahead of them, and then that person will be saying, I need to do what Michelle's doing now. And that's the goal, you know?
Yeah, totally. That's the tricky thing to do, is trying to stay ahead of the curve or find the thing that's that is your own voice. And the other thing that you said, like in terms of being complacent, because what usually happens is you find a style or you find something that you really gravitate towards because you really enjoy it. And then what usually happens is clients come to you and they start requesting that thing. I get this all the time. So clients will be like, we love this particular light thing that you do. And like, I get that all the time. And I love doing it, but it's like, you have to keep pushing yourself to do other stuff and be creative, because it can be a bit of a trap to, like you said, be just doing the same work over and over again. And it starts to look a bit boring, I guess.
I'm very lucky to work with bands and labels and such, where I'm able to tell them, and that comes up all the time. They go, hey, have you seen this thing that person's doing? I'm like, yep, that's what that person's doing.
Yes,
You've
me too.
hired me to do this thing.
Yes.
Like, I'm more than happy to take on suggestions and ideas.
Yeah.
But the last thing I want to do, if someone says to me, it's like, hey, did you see this thing that Michelle is doing? I'll go, yeah, she's amazing at that. And I want that to be the end of the conversation.
Yes.
Like I would much prefer people to like want to push the boundaries. And that's I think that's why like I work so well with North Lane, is because they start to really like not say I want someone else to do this. Like I want someone to replicate someone else's work. Is like they just want to create new ideas, you know?
Yeah, totally. I completely agree with you. Like, I've had people come to me you will show me specific work for, and you often my friends as well. And I'm like, oh, cool. This is a really good example is I get shown Julia's work all the time, and I'd be like, that's what Julia does, and if you want that, you definitely should go to Julia, because she's the best at that. Like, I don't want to replicate what she's doing. So I'd rather refer it to a friend that I know that'll do it a million times better than me anyway. So Shelley said this is why she's been loving these streams and photo chats. She learns so much more and can apply things to local shows, which is really cool. Thanks for your feedback, Shelley. That's awesome. And she said she's been playing with editing too, so she doesn't get comfortable. Nate was saying before that those moments that you get nervous definitely show that you care, which I totally agree. I think they're, I definitely, when I feel those, I'm like, oh, this is important, because I'm feeling really nervous again, which is cool. Daniel Bedford said, speaking of, did you create the Amity This Would Be Heartbreak cover or work from a brief for that?
That was, look, I have to give every single bit of credit to Pat Fox, who is an amazing graphic designer, who pretty much all of my cover art and everything that I've done, not all of them, but most of them that I've done is I've worked with him. And yeah, he was the one that worked with Amity for that.
Is
And
that
I was
on?
simply
Would
the
that
guy
be
that
on
was,
their Instagram or
yeah.
something?
If you go to my website, you'll see there's like
Oh,
a covers
cool. I'll check it
section.
out.
I
Yeah,
think
it'd be cool.
that'll be the easiest spot to find it, I think.
Uh,
There's like all the album covers that I've kind of done.
where's that
Go
bit? Hang on a
back
sec.
to if you go back to the main page,
Yep.
you're back
Menu.
one,
Hang on, I've gone too far.
and then
Menu.
yeah.
Okay. Music videos, artwork.
Artwork. Yeah, that's the one.
Artwork. Have a look at this stuff too. So, I'll try and find the Amity one. So we could this one here. There we go. Yes.
There we go.
It's good to reference when you when you're talking
Yeah,
about
so
something.
that was shot. I was up in a crane for about 4 or 5 hours, and we actually shot that. We didn't have a drone, we didn't have any of that kind of stuff. We built the whole thing. So we built a fake graveyard. We had a whole bunch of people there. We put on a real funeral for Joel, who wasn't even actually in the coffin on the day. So it was it was the weirdest fake thing. I think Daniel said composite edit. Yeah, it is a little bit of a composite. I think the umbrellas were the only thing that we had to redo. And it wasn't a rainy day either.
Yeah.
It was like 30 degrees, which was, I was in a lot of trouble at the end of it. I had to have a lot of water, but the umbrellas were the main thing I had to put into it. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it looks so sick. Like really, really cool. Do you do the compositing, or do you get someone to do it for you?
That was all Pat. So
Yeah, cool.
I took all the photos from the day, because that's one of the things that he is most incredible at doing, is just creating something where it wasn't even there at all. So I'm terrible with that stuff. Like, I'm really not that good with Photoshop.
I'm not amazing with especially compositing stuff. I'm not great at.
No, and I've been relatively stubborn with it too. Is what I love with photography is more about what I like capturing what's there, and that's it. I don't like adding too much to photos, or it's not taking away from it. I respect photographers that do that. I'm not one of the photographers that'll say it's like composites aren't real photos. It's like, I absolutely love composites and the way people are able to do that. But my form of photography, I'm more about whatever I've caught. That's the photo, and I think that's why I'm able to work a little bit more quickly, because I don't muck around with my photos too much.
Totally. Yeah, I'm very similar as well. So, I think it's great to work with a designer. Nate was just saying Pat Fox is amazing. So when you get those people that, like, I work really closely with Jeremy Grey Ghost on all the rules stuff, and when you have a relationship with a designer that you really trust, and you can see that they take your photos to the next level, it's the best feeling. It's like such great teamwork. I really love it. It's really cool. I'm having a look at some of your other covers too. I love this one, the Angus Manners one that you showed on your Instagram not that long ago, but that is like phenomenal. That's just mind-blowing.
Yeah, and it's the thing that Pat and I wanted to do out of this is, I think we kept mentioning Sergeant Pepper's, because that's only 2 photos, so it's not a huge composite. We wanted to build a set, and that's Pat built that whole set. Like, all of those the cranes are actually hung from the roof. Like, they took hours to put those up.
Wow.
The lighting, it's all real. All we did was so we've got Matt, who used to be in Hellions. That's his other project that he's working on now. Is we took one photo of him on the couch and then one photo of him standing up, but it's literally just 2 shots, and it's all there. And that was one of the most important things, is not over make it like it wasn't like a digital photo. Like we wanted it to feel a little bit analog, and we wanted it to feel like it was all in the moment. So yeah, we took as very few photos in that team as in that shot in that whole session as we possibly could, really.
Super beautiful. Like the lighting, I think, is what really makes it for me. It's very, very cinematic and just it's stunning. Like it's just so beautiful. So great job with you guys there for sure. Very cool.
Thank you.
Do you have any, like, I guess, career defining moments that you really like, that you're really proud of as well? Because I mean, I'm just looking on your website, there's so many things that you do. We haven't even spoken about the fact that you direct music videos. Like that's another thing that you do as well. Do you have a favorite music video that you've done?
I guess
I could show
the Parkway. Yeah, sure. Like the Parkway one was probably that's the biggest.
The Prey
and one that I couldn't actually believe it was happening when we were doing it, because I was on tour with them at the time, and it just came down to they were going to do 3 videos with this one guy, and then the guy said, hey, I can only do 2 of them, and we had the forum show the next in 2 days time, and they said, hey, do you want to do a live video for us? I'm like, yeah, when? Like in a month or something? I'm like, nah, 2 days. I'm like, yeah, all right, let's I've kind of always had that mentality of, okay, let's do it to everything that I really say no to anything. So we had 2 days to set that up, and I had to get like 9 other people involved, and it was pretty insane. I got to work with a pretty awesome digital effects dude. So all the big effects that you see in the video are all done by this guy called, I'm gonna forget his name. You'll see it in the credits of the video. Let's say that anyway. Such a long time ago. Yeah. But yeah, I worked with this guy, and he just he brought it all together with the effects, because I'm not great with the whole digital effects side of things. But yeah, doing all of that was just. Parkway's a band I've listened to since I was like 17. Like I saw some of their early shows when they were playing in front of like 100 people in Melbourne, and then to turn all that around and to work with them was pretty incredible. That's
awesome. Any other moments that you really like, that really stick out with you, that just either career defining or that you really are just, you kind of cherish?
Yeah, I think when we did the Tonight Alive video for Temple, that was pretty huge. I didn't actually realize how huge that was at the time.
I'll see if I can pull it up. That would be here.
I think it's like the next one below that. I keep. Oh no, that's negative. Right. Yeah, there it is. I didn't actually realize how, because like Jen and I are close friends, and when I was doing it, I knew it was going to be good, but it didn't actually hit until after we did the thing of how it had touched so many other people, and how they how much other people love the video. And it doesn't have as many views as Prey, but the engagement behind it and the amount of people shared it around and loved the video was way more, which was so great.
Dancer said she seems like one that you would not need to direct much. You get a very creative vibe from her. I was just going to say, I don't know how much you directed her in this clip, but her performance is so epic. And, knowing Jenna and she's just an incredible performer. She's such a special human. It's like, we both know how special she is. So
yeah, we I had to direct her a fair bit. Like it wasn't like it was all her kind of thing. We did a lot of planning before it all went live. But yeah, it wasn't necessarily about her movements, because that was the thing that she'd already had planned. She's like, this is what I want to do and this is how I want to look. But it was all the other little nuances and things where, we probably did 4 or 5 takes of each thing that you're seeing. So that whole thing where she's walking side to side, we did that 3 times before I was comfortable with the take that we got. And the thing about Jen is we just do a little we'd do a little thing where I'd go that, and then we'd build on that. Like we'd watch it back 4 or 5 times, and then we'd build on that from there. So directing for me is like, I'm not nowhere near an incredible director, but what I'm about is just creating things out of a little thing that I'd see. So I'd look at something and go, okay, so you did this in that last take. Now we want to build that into a 30-second kind of thing. So I think I'm more about the little pieces that make the overall puzzle a lot bigger, as opposed to the bigger picture to start with. I guess, if that makes any sense.
Totally does. Yeah. Shelley said, I love Jenna. She's so great to shoot. She would have shot her set at Unify, that last one that we just did in January, which was a really awesome, the Tonight Alive and Friends set, which was so sick, super fun.
I think it was like you, me, and Jaden were at a point like just standing to one side of the stage during that set, because it's the first time that we'd seen her play for like at least a year. And then we were all just kind of just sitting back, kind of appreciating our friend, because she was more a friend than someone on stage dancing and singing, because we're just like, oh, I remember that. I remember who she is. So
yeah, totally.
It was such a good time.
It was really special. It was such a beautiful moment. We had Maz on a few weeks ago, and Jenna was actually in the chat that night, and we were talking about, there was a photo that I got of them backstage just before they went on, which was this like really beautiful moment, which was so cool. It was like a lot of friends and a lot of love. It was really, really cool. I'm just gonna go back to your front page again. I'll just have to check out some of your portraits, which we haven't really looked at. Like, what would be if you had a preference to shoot? Like, I mean, you said you love touring, so I'm assuming that the live music is a preference. But do you like shooting portraits as well?
Probably the portrait section of my website is probably the worst. When you said give me your website like a week ago, I went through and I'm like, oh shit, and I added like 10 photos straight away. I haven't updated this shit in like a year. I'm really lazy with my website, because there's only so much I can kind of do with it. So my portraits are mostly on my Instagram, I'd say, but portraits I think they're way more personal, and that's the thing I like about them, because with live shows, unless you're working with a band that you are really familiar with, like I'm pretty lucky with Northlane, because they know who I am and I know who they are, so I get to have more intimate moments with them on stage. If I'm taking a shot of them, they kind of know about it.
Yes.
But portraits are always the thing where if it's just a one-on-one, it's you and that other person with the camera, and that's it. That's what I love about it. I'd prefer to take a portrait with someone. Is like, you know, those photos like Bert. It's like, I've worked with Bert from The Used a few times, and that's the thing that him and I always really chat about, is it's the intimacy of portraits, and just having someone in front of your camera, and you're basically just looking at them for seconds at a time, and trying to get the best out of them. And I guess that's the thing I love about it the most.
You just explained like the reason that I love working with Rules so much as well. And I think there's a really special relationship when you really, really know the person, and you're able to get something out of them that most likely a lot of people can't if they don't have that relationship. It's my favorite thing about working with someone that you have been working with for a long time, or you have a really solid working relationship with. It does lead to like really beautiful art, because there's a trust there. And I think with photography, especially with portraits, it's all about trust. Yeah,
exactly. It's because portraits are one of those things where if you don't trust the person that's taking your portrait, and that happens, if you look back at my really early portraits, that was a thing that I clearly didn't know. I didn't understand the intimacy behind a portrait. Is if you just stick your camera in someone's face and say, just look here for me, and take a photo, there's no chance. You might fluke it every now and then, but that photo that you're showing there of Jen, no one else could have got that photo, because I knew that it wasn't just a look here, 1, 2, 3, click. There was like a minute of discussions before that photo came about. That was the important part about it. It's like you don't want to be the person that just says, here, 1, 2, 3, click, 1, 2, 3, click. You can do that. You can get away with that for so long, but you just want to like, especially whenever I work with Jen, it's 10 minutes of conversation, one photo, 10 more minutes of conversation, another photo. That's how you get a really great photo, I believe. Is like, it's more about the conversation and the trust you're building with that person, instead of just like snap, and keep shooting and nothing else really.
I completely agree. And I remember too when I first started working with Rule, and like he was a baby, so he was like so hyper aware that I was around all the time. Like the first tour I did when we went to Japan, and I was actually shooting video at the time as well, but he was like, he's, you know, could always see me out the corner of his eye, and I would see him like looking, and I'd be like, just pretend I'm not here, just pretend I'm not here. And like now it's like, you know, you get to a point where you become part of the furniture, and you can really document beautiful moments where they're just, you know, they're so, you're there all the time. It's like your family. So it's so much easier to get an authentic photo of someone that way.
Absolutely. And like whenever I work with North Lane or Tonight Alive or anyone like that, you get those photos that no one else does, because they trust you to do whatever they want to do in front of the camera. And that photo, if it's terrible, it's not going anywhere else. Like some of the photos that I've got of Marcus and Jen before, you're like, it's like, I'd never show anyone else that photo. And I know that I can take 15 and 20 different photos before the really good one gets about, because, and as you've said, and I've said, is like, it's trust, and that's it. And that's how, it's the main thing I kind of preach to anyone else is, if anyone, like I get a lot of people that ask, or at least used to ask when I saw other people, is go, you know, how do I get to tour with other people? I'm like, you have to know them. You have to build trust with them. You can't just expect, hey, why aren't I getting any tours? It's like, well, how many bands are you like this with? Because if that number is a very low number, that minus another low number is how many people you're going to be able to tour with. It doesn't happen overnight, and you wouldn't want it to happen quickly either. There's no way that I'd want to go on tour with someone that I am not tight with already, because that would be an absolute nightmare. Like, imagine going on tours, like going to the States right now with someone that you didn't really know or gel with, and they're going, like when you go into a Europe or the States or something, unless you're touring with a huge band, you're with 2 or 3 or 4 other bands in the one tour bus. So if you don't know your band that well, I guarantee you that band knows all of those other bands very well. So you're going to just fall behind in the group, and it's going to be so much harder for you to make friends with all of these people. So don't worry about, if you're a young, like aspiring local photographer, don't worry about touring that much. Just worry about building your folio brick by brick before you even worry about touring, because touring isn't a thing where it's going to build your folio like extremely quickly, because it just doesn't happen like that.
That's such great advice, and like I you know, I get the same questions as well, and I have the same answers. It's really, 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 really tricky to tour without a really, really solid existing relationship. And like you said, I wouldn't want to do that. Like those people that you're with for months and months and months in an environment where you're just like on top of each other and like in each other's face and annoying the crap out of each other. Like you want to be super tight with those people, otherwise it's going to be a nightmare. And I think people glorify what touring is, and when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of it, yeah, you want to have really good relationships with those people that you're going to be spending a lot of time with.
I think it's overhyped too, how good touring is. What you should be focused on is getting the shows that are really good, those one-off kind of shows where you're like, Jesus, I'd shoot the hell out of that. It's like, well, how do you shoot that shot? It's not
totally.
like with a tour is like, if you do an American tour with a band that's not shooting, like that's not doing arenas, you're like at least half of the shows, somewhat of, you're going to have not a lot of great lighting. You're going to be, you get more than halfway through the tour and you go, I'm done. I want to go home. I've got no interest in being here anymore. It just gets
It's
to
a
the point
slog.
where
It's a
you're
slog.
over it, because what that one photographer sees of that one show in Minneapolis at the start of the tour, you have seen that show 30 other times in the last 28 days, and it's not interesting to you anymore. So it's, yeah, you just have to find a way to keep it interesting. So don't think that touring is the be all and end all. It's all about those shows where you can make the best of those one-off situations.
Totally. I just wanted to interrupt quickly. Thank you so much for that gifted sub, Shelley. That's so lovely of you. Really appreciate it. Hello, Inferno. Nice to see you here. Thanks for joining the chat. We've got Soggy Sanchez that just joined the crew as well. Appreciate the follow. We've got Neal Walters tonight, who is an incredible music photographer, well renowned within the industry. We're just checking out his work, which is it's been really fun. There's a lot, you know, like even with your mates, I see your Instagram, but it's not very often that I would just go check out your website and check out some of this stuff. So it's been cool for me to scroll through. I
Most
love
people
this
don't.
Amity shot, by the way, that I've got up on the screen. This is super cool.
That's probably one of the only composites that I've ever done. As I don't, that was all four of them in different spots at different times, really.
Very cool. They look good in suits. They
do.
scrub up okay, these boys.
Surprisingly not bad.
That's hilarious. So cool. I definitely wanted to touch on, I guess, how are you at the moment? Because we're now not doing the thing that we love, and both of us love touring, and we were doing a lot of touring. Like, I was meant to be on tour right now for basically the rest of the year. So how are you coping with the fact that we don't know when that's going to come back for us as well?
Yeah, look, I was in, where was I? I was in the States. So when this all kicked off in February, I think I left late January, early February, to go and tour with Thy Is Murder, who was a band that I hadn't really toured with before. I was really stoked to tour with them. And I went to, I flew out to Philadelphia, and like I went to a wrestling event, and I was like, yeah, this is great. I get to go to a new tour in a country that I love with a whole bunch of new people. And then I went to this like wrestling show and went to a couple of bars and like did a cool couple of things. And then we rocked up to the show the next day. This COVID thing was it was kicking off. It's like my partner messaged me. She's like, oh, you know, have you seen all this? And it's like, are you okay over there? I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. And then we played one show that night. We played in Philadelphia, and then Marshy, who's the guitarist in the band, but he basically manages the band too. And at the end of the show, he's like, just before the band went on stage, he goes, tour's cancelled. We're all going home tomorrow. Like everyone's flying out. Like, hang on. Like, is it that bad? Because we just saw emails coming in from venues around the States going, so your venue that was 1,000 caps now been downgraded to 250 people, because that's all that's allowed in the state now. And emails just started to come in on the hour. So,
wow. I can't even imagine being in that process, when you're actually on tour. Because everything that happened for me was like, it cancelled everything coming up. So an Asia tour got cancelled, and then another tour. But actually being on tour, that would be very surreal.
Well, that was the other thing is like, well, it all happened. So as you know, you rock up to a tour, you buy everything you need for the next 3 months. You're on a tour bus when you're in a tiny bunk. Like, I'd literally just the really good pillow that I want. I was pillow's the main thing that you need. Pillow. You ever go on tour, pillows.
Yes, I agree.
Got out to the bus, had everything set up, had my I built like a little stand on there for my iPad. Like I'd knocked it out of the park for this tour, ready to go, and then been told, hey, you're going home the next day. Just got over jet lag, had just settled in, and then to go, hey, you've got to do another 48 hours of travel, because we're in Philadelphia, which is the east side of America, to the east side of Australia is not a short trip to do.
Oh my God.
And so just been thrown into it, and then saying I'd basically had a whole year of touring booked in with North Lane, and that all got completely scrapped too. So it was a shock. And you know what, to be honest with you, I haven't really done like any work since February, which has just been the longest period of time between gigs for me ever. I've never not had
that
work.
would be so weird.
Yeah, and it's been scary at times. And like as you're talking about at the start with like your mental health and everything, is like I've been exactly the same. There's been so many times where you just wake up on a daily basis and go, you know, at the start I was like, cool, I get to have a little bit of a break for a while, which is something I haven't been able to do. But then you get like 4 months into it and go, okay, what do I do now? What happens if this doesn't get better anytime soon? It's like eventually I'm going to have to start doing something else. It's like a bunch of my music friends have been
scary stuff.
They've been saying the same thing. Is like, I think Northlane Josh said the other day, is like, well, you know, it's other people would say to him, I was like, just get another job. It's like, but if you've poured 10 years of your life into just doing one thing in the creative industry, just get another job it doesn't happen like that. So just being able to find other income from, you know, working at a clothing store or becoming anything else, you can't do that as a creative. It just doesn't happen, you know?
Yeah, look, I completely resonate with everything that you've said. That's the train of thought that like I've tried to avoid, is just like thinking about trying to do something else, because I'm, you know, 10 years deep as well, and I'm hoping, I mean, I feel like you would be similar, that as soon as we're able to shoot, there's stuff that we can shoot, even though potentially it's not live music and it's not touring. There's other stuff, like, for example, I do a lot of press shots and that sort of stuff. Like, I feel like that work will come back quickly, but there's the live music stuff, which is really the stuff that really, you know, we adore and is what we live for at the end of the day. That's the stuff that's going to take a little while to come back. Daniel's just asked a question about, can creatives get income insurance, or because it's not full-time, it's not an option? You can get like income protection, like you can pay for it if you maybe, like my husband's got it, for example, or used to have it, he doesn't have it anymore, but it's super expensive, and you would have had to know that, I guess, something was maybe gonna, I don't know, you would have had to know, have foresight that you would, like, you know, we don't think about shit like that as creatives. We're like, whatever. So there's not many people that I know that have it, so.
Yeah, I'm sure beforehand it would have been an option quite easily, you know, like to get any kind of insurance like that. Like, it would have cost a little bit, but now if you were to,
I don't think it would be
all this kicked off, insurance companies would have either just shut it down and gone act of God, or not. It wouldn't have been a thing. So I was pretty lucky. I was able to get a little bit of, I got a grant from a company that was giving out grants for the music industry, for like, I got my rent covered for a month, which was great. And the whole JobKeeper thing, I was lucky that I was able to get that. I was one of the sole traders that actually did fit in that in that kind of category.
I was very lucky, and Jarvis is very, I literally don't know what we would have done if we didn't get JobKeeper. Like, I have no idea.
I have no idea either. Like, it's one of those really scary things. And like, I'm really lucky that I was able to get JobKeeper, because without that, but unfortunately the Australian government is like, I don't want to get political, but they've just knocked down JobKeeper.
I know.
That's really scary, because that's JobKeeper. Yeah. Here you go. Someone just asked us like what JobKeeper is. Like, the Australian government is giving us essentially like $1,500 a fortnight, which has now been knocked down to $1,200 a fortnight. If you'd lost 30% or more of your business, and luckily, anyone that works in the music industry has lost 100% of the business, so you're able to get that. But when it gets below that, Now it's getting down to like 1,200 a fortnight before tax. That's like, $1,010 a fortnight to live off, and that's like,
Yeah,
I
it
live in
starts
the
to get
northern
tricky.
suburbs of Melbourne. Not a thing.
Yeah, it's very
That's-
tricky when you start. Yeah, I've had all kinds of stuff. I had to defer our mortgage, and it's been a nightmare. Inferno asked the question: what about Twitch for some of the for other creatives? I mean, Twitch has been my lifeline for me personally, and I know that creating this community of people, there's a lot of people that have, I guess, found solace and comfort in coming together a few times a week and just talking about the stuff that we love. So it's been the best thing that's happened to me during this period. I'm so glad that I started streaming. It's been so awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been lucky that I've just been trying to focus on other things. Like I've started to put together like other little projects. I put together a zine and,
Oh yeah, I was
putting
gonna
up
ask
print.
you about that. How's the zine going?
Yeah. So it's ready. It's
It's ready.
actually, it's ready, and it's just gone up for pre-order. Like,
Is
what's
it
the
on your
time? It went
website?
up. No, so I can give you the website,
Yes.
which everyone can go to now. So the
Yes.
website is, it's
Hang on, I'm gonna
merchwarfare.com.
put it in the chat. Merch warfare. Yep.
.com.
Is it
Forward
WARFAIR?
FARE. No,
Yeah.
FAR.
.com.
/collections
Yep.
/Neal Walters.
Hyphen is dash.
Dash, sorry. Yeah.
Good. I'm going to chuck that in the chat right now. So if anybody is keen to order that zine, absolutely get on that right now. I will definitely be ordering myself a copy when I finish this stream. I've just got to find old Soy. Hang on, I'm going to play one of Soy's other albums. There we go.
I love you. Someone was so real. So, like, being a vegan, I appreciate that.
Soy is an amazing streamer that I've met here in the Twitch community that allows me to play his music, and he's an absolute legend. I had him on the stream a few weeks ago. He's a legend, which is really cool. And so, what's your thoughts on? I mean, I don't know if anyone has the answer to this, but like, when we'll ever like be able to shoot gigs again? I don't know. Do you, like, are you in support of like, like the drive-through gigs and the gigs that are outdoors with space, and are you all about that stuff?
No, because to me, if you're at a drive-through kind of gig, you may as well just be watching it at home. Like, it's not like, I understand why people would want to do that.
Yes.
But yeah, it's the whole watching it at home would be a benefit to me, as opposed to sitting in my car and watching it like a drive-through kind of movie is. Yeah, look, I'm more on the side of, I just like to wait until this is all over before we see shows and such again. It's like, I've seen those drive-through gigs, and to me, they just don't look incredibly interesting to me. So yeah, that's where I kind of stand. Is I'm just hoping that everybody just does what they need to do so we can get through this and start doing shows again. Is what I've been told is it'll be middle of next year before we're touring and doing everything we need to do again, because that's the important part.
Impoverished, I've just popped up Neal's do you have are you in the chat at the moment? Do you have a
Oh no, I can log in though. Hang on. I'll do that.
So yeah. Our Pagey's got to go as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Pagey, to check out the stream today. I've just pulled up that the website too, so people can see. Morning Rush, good to see you here. Thanks for joining us. I differ a little bit. I mean, maybe the drive-through shows, but have you seen some of those? Because they do look a bit whack. But have you seen those shows where they're outdoor venues? So think of somewhere like, say, the My Music Bowl, and they've got kind of like
Yeah.
little section, like little pens. They look a little bit more realistic than the in the
Yeah.
car vibe.
That's the weirder one to me too. Is people being section like there was what was it? I can't remember the band exactly, but they had like sectioned off things where you had like
Yeah.
three people,
Like a little pen.
you have like three people in
Yeah.
there. So weird. Like that to me is like being a gig, being especially like heavy metal gigs. You're this close
Yes,
to
that's true.
and you're
That's
going.
true.
It's like, oh,
That's
so
true.
I've got to enter myself in the chat. Hi, oh, there we go.
Yes.
I'm in the chat, and I know my username is ridiculous. That's my PlayStation username, by the way.
That is so funny. Oh my god, I
I was
love
given
it.
I was given that PlayStation name when I first got one, like 10
Oh my
years ago. So
God.
apologies for being ridiculous.
That's hilarious.
Mm.
Just saying hello to Rush in the chat as well. Good to see you here. It's always a pleasure to see your name in the chat. I'm just showing some of your Instagram pictures as well now, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's where you find the better work, probably.
The better portraits, yeah. I was going to say, like, I guess I'm at a point where I'm just like, I just would love to be shooting anything. You know, like,
Yeah.
like I would just concede to have that experience. I just miss.
Have you picked up your camera though recently?
I have, because of this community. So we do a weekly challenge. So usually I shoot something for the challenge because I just feel like it's good to join in if everybody else is. And that's kept me, at least I've had my camera doing little bits and pieces. But it's not... The other thing is that I had a 6-week period, between the two hard lockdowns. I had a 6-week period where... we went away with the whole Rule crew, and we actually isolated together and shot all of the content that's just been dropping. So I got a bit of taste.
It's all incredible, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm so stoked with it. I'm like, it's definitely, I've said this before, but it's definitely my best work, and I'm super proud of it. I'm super proud of the whole team, actually. But it was like this intense... It felt like we were on tour. As soon as I got there, all of the stress that I had been feeling for the past 4 months dissipated. It was so, like, as soon as we walked into the house and I saw Rule and I saw Joel and I saw Nate and everyone's just joking and just being silly, I was just like, everything just, it was just like stress relief. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I came here. I'm so glad that we can shoot this content, get it done. And then, like, literally the day that we finished, we went into the full hard, nobody can work, you are done, and Rule flew back to Sydney. It was, I can't believe we got it done in that time period. It was like quite incredible.
How long was the time period?
It was about 6 weeks. Yeah, so we literally shoot. We did so many shoots. Like, we did a 6-day, like, just press shot shoot days, like 6 full days. And then we did the video clip shoot, which was a few weeks later. We did a video clip shoot, and then we did all of the content for the website, which is all the little bits and pieces that are coming out now. So it was just a lot, because we knew that if lockdown happened again, we weren't going to be able to shoot anything for God knows how long. So we just did. We shot like a year's worth of content in like 6 weeks. So
that's insane, man. Like we've done like. The last whole set of Northlane ones that we did it in Japan, and we had to do it in a day, and we just shot for 12 hours straight. Like, it was just non-stop shooting the whole time.
It's quite amazing what you can do.
I can't imagine doing 6 weeks worth.
It was so full on, and not to mention that after the 6 weeks, like, I came home, but Joel and Jeremy were then editing all of the content that's now on the website, which is just like, it's... Anyone that's seen it's just gone, what the hell? Like, it's so much content. There's so many little pieces, and they were then doing that for the next however long, and they're still doing it. So it's like, it's a lot of work, but I do think it's worth it. I think dropping stuff at the moment when it means a lot to people to see new stuff, and the fans are really responding to stuff, because like there's been nothing for a long time, which is really cool. Somebody asked a question before that I wanted to... It was Shelley, actually, which I think was a really great question. I've just got to... It was about your workflow. I'm just trying to find out if I'd love to know Neal's workflow, and just any tips for video, because I think Shelley's just starting to shoot video.
Yeah, sure. My workflow is probably the one you need to like not pay attention to out of anybody. But the the main tips I can give you for video is just know your settings is the main thing. I see so many people jumping from photography to videography and not understanding what settings are important. The main one I can give you is that your shutter speed needs to be double your frame rate. A lot of people don't understand that, and it's the main way you get smooth, consistent video is if you're shooting at 25 frames per second, your shutter speed needs to be at 1/50th of a second. If you're shooting at 100 frames per second, it needs to be at 1/200th of a second. That's how you get the smooth video without any jumpy lights or anything.
Cool.
A lot of videographers don't understand that, and I see it so much. You can pick it a million miles away if you know what you're looking for. You go, yep, that is either set on manual photography mode and then just switched on to video. You'll get that straight away. So it's just about doing your research and investing in the right gear, of like investing in filters if you're working outside, or little key lights and such. That's what you need to definitely look for if you're doing video, especially in the music industry, for sure.
Cool. And workflow wise, are you like me, just like all about the Lightroom and getting super quick edits, fast and sharp, get them out? It's my workflow.
Yeah, I think that's why you and I always connected really well with that kind of stuff. Is like I'm more about just get it done. Is like where you'll find me at a gig is like I just do as much as I possibly can at a show, and then go backstage, get everything done, and before everybody's going to bed, they already have all the photos and everything's 100% completed. Like there's no way you'll catch me. And you'll see that at North Lane kind of shows and such, and any gig that I work with is before you get home that night from that show, there's already a photo of mine on their website. Like it's as easy as that. Like
I'm exactly the same. I've spoken about this so many times. I feel like that. I feel when I first started, and I was shooting, predominantly in the hip hop scene, but that's really what differentiated me at the start, was like getting those photos the night of the show, so people had the choice to post straight away rather than waiting. And like it does put extra pressure on us to stay up late or whatever, but you get into really good habits. So when you're on tour, everyone goes to bed and I just stay on the bus and I just get it done. So the next day, I've got the day free. But you get so quick at that stuff. You're just like, sweet, I'm gonna bang this out tonight, and then I'll have, you're just getting those really great habits of fast turnarounds, which I think's really good. Yeah. Daniel was saying, why does everybody shoot at like 1,000 frames per second for live footage and little to no real time, never shot video? So there might be a logical reason, just referring to earlier about not doing what everybody else does.
Yeah, look, it's I understand shooting at a higher frame rate, because the main reason for that being is like if I shoot most of my stuff in either 50 or 100 frames, I wouldn't shoot any higher than that most of the time, because it just chews up too much space. If I'm on a tour, there's no way I'm shooting above 100 frames a second most of the time, because I've only taken 2 hard drives with me, and if you shoot above 100 frames, that shit is just eating up your hard drive space like there's no tomorrow. So most of the time I wouldn't be shooting in 25 frames, because if you shoot in 25, you have no option to slow it down, unless you want it to look relatively choppy later on. So if you shoot at 50, at least you've got that half speed to work with. And if you shoot at 100, you're working with a quarter speed. So if you've got the space and you've got the time, because you can convert from 100 to 25, depending on what camera you're using, you may or may not have audio. Like I'm lucky that with the Canon that I was using, if you shot at 100 frames a second, you didn't have audio. But with the A7R4 that I'm using now, you have, or that I was using for a minute before, I haven't used it for months, it does record audio at 100 frames, so you have the option to use that if you convert it back down to 25 frames a second. So that was just a lot of really quick nerd talk.
Yeah, this is me. I'm just like, numbers, gone, out the window. That's why I suck at video. He said live footage seems to be a series of slow-mo moments as opposed to getting a sense of the actual performance. I know, yeah, so I understand what he's saying. I guess those slow motion moments do look great in those hype reel videos though, even though it's not like real-time stuff, that those super slow-mo stuff, it does look gorgeous.
But that's, Dan, what you've just said there is exactly what I don't like. Is I don't like my videos, you'll never see it where it's just 100% slow-mo, because I think that either one of two things is over editing or just using too much slow-mo is taking away from the fact that you're not capturing what the actual performance is about. Is I'd much rather see 25 frames per second as like normal speed footage done well, as opposed to using a shitload of effects or ridiculous slow-mo the whole time.
Yeah.
I use slow-mo all the time because it can add a lot more to it, but
you're saying be selective and not overuse
exactly.
it as a crutch.
Overusing anything shouldn't be done. There's no way you should just go, oh, hey, I know this works really well, I'm just going to use this on every single photo that I possibly do, or every single video moment that I do. You shouldn't be aiming for that. It should always be trying to do something different.
Totally. Has anybody got any last questions before we say goodbye to Neal? I'm going to hang around a little bit on stream afterwards just to chat to you guys, because I haven't had a good chat to everybody. But any other last questions? This has been such a good chat. I've really loved talking to you about this stuff. It's, anytime I've seen you really has been working, so you don't really get to talk about this stuff. It's usually just work mode and blah, blah, blah. High pressure.
This is like, how are you? Good. How are you? Good.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. I'm gonna go.
Good game, right? Done. Impoverish has asked, when are you going to stream? I love that question. Get him on Twitch.
Look, it's the main thing I've been, as I said, the main thing I've been focusing on really is just the last 2 weeks. I've been working every day on this zine. That I am really, really proud of. So if anyone wants to check it out, there's that link.
Yes.
That was I quite genuinely, the reason why it's called what it is, and it's called something to leave behind, sorry, is I had a conversation with my mum before she passed away, and it was all about, why I was doing what I was doing was because I wanted to leave something behind. So I called it that. And it's only recently that I've actually had the time to sit down and do this properly, because before, if I was on tour or back from tour, it always felt rushed. So I think it's really important to leave something behind and to do something. So the answer to your question is, when will I do Twitch? I have time now, so maybe.
Yes, maybe this could be a thing. There's such a beautiful community of photographers that are springing up now, so it's awesome. Just wanted to welcome Airford to the stream. I just saw that you followed. Thank you so much. Sorry that I missed that. I just didn't want to interrupt Neal as he was talking. So Shelley said she's just bought it. I'm definitely, as soon as I get off this stream, I'm going to be getting that as well. I saw a question. Hang on 2 seconds. How much effort was put into the North Lane live stream? Seems like a ridiculous amount of footage for the team to seep through. That's a great question.
The North Lane live stream, for those of you who saw it, was 14 cameras at the Roundhouse that I had to direct on the night and also shoot all the photos on the night. And then the editing process, I actually did it on tour. So after that tour in Australia, we went over to Europe, and I was on the tour bus every single night. I'd shoot the show, and then I would edit the photos. And then as soon as I would finish with my photos, I'd edit another song from the Roundhouse show that night, and just continuously show the guys their edits from the Roundhouse show. So that was 30 days of editing every single night and very little sleep. And then I got back to Australia and then did another month of like editing and retouching after that. So it was probably 2 months of straight editing every single day. And then I got it done, and I never wanted to see it again.
But yes. Shelley's just said insane work ethic. I will say that anyone that I know that has been successful in music photography has an incredible work ethic. It's just like we will work until we drop dead. Like it's literally the one common denominator from all the people that I know who's been really successful. So that's definitely a thing. Oh, sorry,
like,
go.
it was great when we did the live streams too. To normally when I put something out like that, like a music video or whatever it is, it's just put onto YouTube and then that's it. You see someone out and at a gig and they'll say that they enjoyed it or otherwise, and then that's all you'll hear from it really, or whatever. But with the live stream, it was great because you got something like this where people were able to tell you in real time what they thought about certain scenes and such. So yeah, I loved it. It was like a gig, but I was able to get feedback from people in real time.
Oh, I love that. Shelley was asking before too with how do you decide what to print or put on your website? Is it by artist or just your faves?
Look, Shelley, I have such a huge problem with deciding what is good with my work and what isn't, because I'll be brutally honest, is I hate 99% of the things that I do. I don't have a lot of love for a lot of things that I do. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, like it's whatever's on my Instagram. The amount of photos that I've put on my Instagram and my website that were there and now that are not heavily outweighs what is actually there, because if it stayed there for a period of time, it's not even about how many people have liked it or whatever. It's more about, it's like, do I look at it for too long and then I go, no, I hate that, and then I get rid of it. And yeah, so it's very difficult for me to actually appreciate something that I do. And luckily I've been able to get better at that. And like the negative energy documentary for North Lane, that was probably the hardest one that I've ever had to do, because it was so personal and so on it was on a really personal level with Marcus, and then it was on a personal level with me too, and like editing all of this together going, Jesus, I really don't like that, but it has to be in there. And then there was other things that I did like and they didn't have to be in there. So yeah, what goes on my website it's not there for no reason. It's because I've really thought about it and then kind of been able to let go at the same time.
Yeah, letting go I think is really important. Dan said we're usually our own worst critic. I am the same, and my wife hates it. Dan said, has there been a decent band or project you had to turn down or to tour? That would probably happen all the time when you're on tour and something really exciting comes up, or vice versa. You're doing something and you can't do a tour, or that happens all the time. Heaps of them. I'm really loyal with things, so I have turned down like multiple projects that no one else would turn down simply because I've been out with North Lane or have I think
done
the
other
loyalty is really important though. It's like it is part of the relationship. It's just like there are, I mean, I hate calling them clients because you don't feel it. They're not clients. It's so deeper than client, but there are those people that literally just come first. Like that is, it doesn't matter what else comes up. That's the thing that you're doing. So that loyalty, I think it's reciprocated when you show that though, I think.
Yeah. And it's ridiculously important. If you're not loyal and you're not, it doesn't matter who the band is. If you're just jumping over them to go with someone else, that band that you're with will notice immediately and they'll go, oh, okay, no, they'll get someone else. So yeah, totally. There's been plenty of things that I've had to tour down, but I've never regretted any decision that I've made. I've never gone, geez, I wish I'd taken that tour because I could have seen where that's gone. But yeah, that's not the way it goes.
Totally. Hey, Ines, thanks for popping in. You're at school. Thanks. I appreciate you being here. It's cool. And Daniel said, yeah, people talk too. I mean, if there's one thing that we know is that this industry is very, very small. So you want to keep on
Yep.
people's good sides because lots of
Word
people
gets
do
around
that.
very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Well, I don't want to keep you any longer. I've had you for an hour and a half, which has been amazing. It's been such a great chat, and I really, really appreciate it. And thank you so much for coming on.
Oh,
If
thank you.
you can convince Peas, tell him that I won't bite, and and it's just a lovely chat. Please show your appreciation, chat, for Neal. That was super cool and such a great chat. I'm going to hang around a little bit longer though, so everybody hang if you want to hang. We shall say goodbye to Neal. That was awesome. That was so cool. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much. Much love.
Uh,
Appreciate it.
and well, yeah, I'll catch up with you really soon. I really appreciate your time.
We'll do. Thanks,
See
guys.
ya. Bye.
Bye.